Hi Unmesh, thanks for taking the time to talk to us at the conference. Do you mind to give us a bit of an introduction to who you are, what you do, and what you're excited to get from the event?
Sure, sounds good. I'm Unmesh and I head our healthcare and life sciences practice. Work very closely with the pharmaceutical and biotech clients. In addition to hosting think tanks around our precision health program, and that's exactly where this conference comes in. It really brings together companies across the entire value chain and the ecosystem, and that's what I think is at the crux of driving precision health as a whole. Yeah.
Nice, thank you. And for you, what lights you up about the space at the moment? What really excites you?
I think it's interesting, and I think it's important to sort of break down the industry from a life sciences into pharmaceutical and biotech, diagnostics, and a life sciences IT perspective. I think the pharmaceutical industry, and particularly the biotech industry, is really at an inflection point. We've seen, the lack of funding for the biotech industry, which has sort of prioritized late-stage assets. And while that has created challenges, there's a lot of opportunity as well for companies that are providing solutions to the biotech industry and the pharmaceutical industry as a whole. We are very well aware of the dependency that the pharmaceutical companies have on biotech companies in terms of their R&D investments and their pipeline. Biotech companies and pharmaceutical companies in turn are also very dependent on the pharmaceutical contract services industry. So a lot of interest in terms of the CROs and the CDMOs and their value proposition in terms of providing the end-to-end sort of services and the stickiness of the business as a whole. So tracking that very closely. And then from a diagnostics perspective, I think we're seeing this transition towards early screening programs and companion diagnostics and areas like pan-cancer screening tests and things like that, in addition to the focus on multi-omics, which is really integrating itself into the NGS workflows. So a lot going on from an innovation and a technology perspective, but I think the focus needs to be in terms of commercialization and really building a very robust market access and commercial strategy a lot sooner in terms of the R&D development.
And what advice do you have for people that are in actually practically kind of doing that as well?
Yeah, correct. I think, again, that breaks it down in terms of the different sectors. I think from the technology companies that are providing a value proposition to the life sciences industry as a whole, I think it's really important to focus on ROI and those use cases and really breaking it down for the pharmaceutical and the biotech company and really working with them to sort of, not only adopt these technologies, but then also implement them and really showcase value in the long run. I think the life sciences industry as a whole, when it comes to their digital transformational journey, they've thought big, but they've been small in terms of implementation. So really prioritizing those high value, large sort of products to sort of showcase that value and then sort of take it big. An analogy I would like to give is the lighthouse effect. So start small and then go big. Yeah.
Okay, and when you say that, start small, go big, do you mind fleshing that out a little bit more for us?
I think it just boils down to the partnership that you have with your vendors. And we're seeing companies are really prioritizing companies to partner with, where they really have that support at a product sort of level, at the project management level. So it's sort of transitioning from these very transactional sort of relationships to these very personal sort of relationships, and I think that's where the future is. So really sort of building that skill set and looking at it from a very use case and a very life sciences sort of a perspective.
Okay, awesome. We really appreciate your insight on that. And in terms of where you think perhaps there's going to be a need for more skills or new skills in the industry, like what do you forecast in terms of the skills that are going to be in demand?
Yeah, I think from again, and I keep bringing up the whole data and the technology perspective, because I think that is going to drive the future. But again, from an enabling perspective, I think we're seeing a lot of adoption in terms of AI solutions, LLM models, and this whole shift from a cloud deployment perspective as well. This transition from on-premise sort of cloud or data centers to these hybrid models. So there's a significant skill gap, and really bringing that into the life sciences sort of perspective. So we're seeing a bit of a skill gap in regards to the life sciences sort of application, implementation sort of perspective when it comes to some of these IT technologies. So that's really going to sort of be the future. In addition to that, I think companies are really looking at their positioning when it comes to the precision health journey. And when I'm talking about the precision health journey, that is something that we can't look at in silo. So they're really looking at where they sort of fall into not only precision health, but when they're sort of mapping out the journey of a patient when it comes to the life sciences industry. So this whole transition from treatment to diagnoses, and now more and more around prevention and wellness. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. And any last little sound bites, any bit of advice for anyone out there at the moment that is finding it a challenge?
Yeah, sure. I think, make sure that you're focused on your digital capabilities, and again, being very focused from the industry where you want to apply that for. So really sort of focused on an implementation, whether it be pharmaceutical, biotech, diagnostics, or research tools. I think really focusing on that, because we can't ignore technology moving forward, but keeping in mind it's just going to be an enabler. So it's important to understand, what are we using this data for? What are the outcomes that we're trying to measure? And I think really focused on the 4 Ps when it comes to precision health, which is personalization, predictive nature of the work that we are doing, being precise, and then more importantly, looking at it from a patient perspective.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Take care.